One of the main issues with sugar babies is that they don't have an exit strategy whatsoever. They may claim that, oh, I'm just going to do this while I'm in college. I'm just going to do this until I'm, I don't know, 25, 30, whatever. And then I'll settle down and I'll become this dream girl, housewife, whatever. But I'm just thinking about if you are in this mode of treating men like walking ATMs, shutting down your emotions, using sex for material gain, that's going to become ingrained in you. And that's going to be your entire worldview and mindset. It's just like the quote on the screen. This is how you think about relationships, and this is how you speak about them and your habits and your actions. And if you're doing that long term, it's going to form your character. Also, I apologize. I am very congested, so if my voice sounds odd, that's probably why. But I still wanted to make this video because I have known some of these women who have, in their younger years, either openly admitted to being a sugar baby, or they simply married for money and like nothing else, or they pursued men for financial gain. Like they had this fantasy, particularly in older generations, although I feel like it's making a comeback. Like the women I'm thinking of are pretty much like in their 40s and 50s currently. I see the younger girls who are, early 20s now. This is becoming common again. I have a few story times. So there is one woman who I worked with, and we didn't work like in any sort of shady job. Like we didn't work in like a super materialistic job. It was a pretty common workplace. It was not, nightlife or anything like that, anything extreme. But we worked together, and she had been newly hired, and we had like a holiday party, and it was like open bar. So everyone had a little too much to drink. And she was the one who was talking about how, I think she was 30 at the time, probably in her early 30s. She was, married at the time. She had like 2 or 3 small children, all under like the age of 6. And she was talking about how she recommends anyone to be a sugar baby because it was so great. She's still in touch with her sugar daddy to this day. She did it in college, and it was like the best thing she ever did, even though she's not married to her former sugar daddy, but she's still in touch with him. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. This was all very new to me at the time. Like I had like sort of seen this online, but I never really met anyone who was like open about it and really honest about it. And honest is pretty relative because you'll see she did not have a happy ending, nor did like any of the women I'm going to speak about who I've known in my real life. You really can't be friends with these women. And I'm going to tell you more why, but basically she went on and on and on. And at the time, I also had a part-time job, which I've talked about before. I worked in retail part-time in addition to this full-time job. I worked at Sephora, and I did a whole video about, just like stuff I would buy at Sephora. But anyway, I was like the only one in this workplace social circle, shall we say, who worked outside of that job. The other women in this job really felt like I was kind of a sucker. Like I should just find a man, move in with him, and save some money on my expenses, have him split bills with me, and that would be so much better. I did not do that, but anyway, we'll keep going. So this first lady number 1, who was at the Christmas party, holiday party, whatever you want to call it, talking about how great sugaring was. This was December, like holiday time, maybe late November, early December. By January, it's not funny, but it is like interesting. By January, she and her husband were having full out fights and arguments. He proved himself to be a very vindictive person. And long story short, there was a whole domestic violence allegation. And she, who walked around with her nose in the air like she had it made, and like I was so dumb for having my own income source and relying on myself, she had to go to court. And she was, last I heard, I haven't heard from her in some time for good reason, last I heard she was living in hotels with her children. And it sort of became clear to me because she also talked about how prior to all of the court stuff happening and all of the issues, she was having affairs, and she was trying to, sort of still keep her sugar daddy on the hook. And I would never, ever, ever condone domestic violence. I don't think there's ever an excuse for it. I didn't, see the domestic violence or anything like that. I had met her husband a handful of times. And, when you meet someone like that, they're always going to be on their best behavior, right? They're always going to show their facade to the world. But I think in the divorce case alone, like there's blame to go around. Not necessarily in the domestic violence case that there's blame to go around, but there was certainly blame to go around in whatever divorce proceedings. I mean, she was having affairs and she clearly married him because he had money and then he had all the power in the relationship. She would say things like how she would book a massage and then he would cancel it. And he would cancel it so that it was to the point where with her money that she earned from this job, she had just gone back into the workforce. When he would cancel it, she would get charged like the cancellation fee, or it would be like too close to the window to get her money back. So just like very vindictive, like just awful people. I could go into more detail, but that's kind of the gist. So this is a woman who in December is saying, oh my God, everyone should be a sugar baby. Oh my God, you should just find a man, whatever, whatever, whatever. And then by January, there was a huge issue. And then by the fall, there was a court case. So she even said to me something about like, you know, her children having problems in school, like behavioral problems. And I'm kind of like, yeah, like, I don't really understand parents who think they can. I don't mean to say that, you know, every parent who has a kid who's been traumatized did something wrong, because sometimes things happen. You can do everything right and your child can still have something horrible happen to them. It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying for those who live their lives in this way and just feel like, oh, it's not going to affect my kids because it's can be this person, or I can be married to this person who treats me badly and I can treat them badly and I can be manipulative and they can be vindictive and like my kids will be totally fine because that's between us. Like, what planet are you on? Kids see everything. Like, what kind of values are you instilling? Even for the woman who didn't outright come out and tell me, oh, I was a sugar baby, you should do it, like they weren't so blatant about it. I've had other women who I've known, actually all from the same workplace, which is so funny. I did not last very long at that workplace. Like my performance was good, but I resigned like pretty much as soon as I could because I thought the values were just absurd. Anyway, like all of these women I can think of, all four who have had this sort of mindset of, oh, a man will pay for everything and that's what they're for, and who more or less have told me that they married for money, or they, you know, got with this man so that they could live in a certain location or have a certain lifestyle. They're all single now. Like they're all alone. Every single one of them. The thing about these women is that no one talks about is they feel very entitled to having a man pay for things for them, pay for their lifestyle, whether that's a luxury lifestyle or whether that's just, I don't have to pay the full rent or the full mortgage. This is the part no one says, but once that man is gone, they turn to their friends and expect their friends to also subsidize their lifestyle because they're very entitled, feeling like they never thought they'd have to pay for whatever they have to pay for. They don't feel like they should have to get another job. They don't feel like they should have to do whatever steps they have to take, even being so bold at times as to request those things or suggest those things to me when they know how hard I've worked. And that becomes really, really sticky and really frustrating. One woman, I haven't talked to her in a long time. She was much older than me. She was in her 50s and she got with this guy who was not treating her well, who promised her he would provide. He didn't. So she ended up borrowing a lot of money from some other people in that social circle, not from me, because I truly did not have it to lend. And she knew that because I was working a lot. And so it was very easy for me to be like, nope, I have a second job. I cannot help you get out of this situation. But she borrowed like a lot of money, not a couple $100s, like a couple $1,000s. There are two people I know who gave her money, and at least one of them I know she has not made an effort to pay back. And they had sort of a falling out. And I kind of like in the back of my mind wonder, was that falling out sort of premeditated on her part so that she didn't have to pay this person back? I don't know. I'm never going to know. You sort of see this pattern. That's why I say you can't really be friends with these people. And that's why I also say they grow up to be lonely. Like if your whole lifestyle is looking at people as ATMs and that becomes your character because that's how you think and that becomes your actions and your habits and everything like that, it's not going to end well for you Or if you have children, it will not end well for them either. We're starting to see this more and more online, but I had noticed this pattern just in my life when this whole mindset was very trendy. And now I'm over here and I don't have to work that retail job anymore. I still have to supplement my income, but I have a healthy relationship. And guess what? Even though I have to supplement my income, I've set up ways to do that, and I can pay all my expenses on my own. It's very nice when I'm taken out to dinner and when I'm treated by my boyfriend, but I don't need him to survive. And that sort of resentment, even though some of these women, they set up their lives like this. These were choices that they made. The resentment they have in seeing me be independent, even though they don't want to put in the work, they will sometimes not give very good advice. Like there was another woman who totally sabotaged. Before I met my boyfriend, I was dating a lot, and she would sort of encourage me to call guys when it was way too soon. And she would, if I wore something, she'd be like, oh no, borrow this instead. And like it looked just worse on me, but very like sabotage like. And it's because she was upset in her marriage and she was given chances to leave her marriage, but ultimately went back because it funded her lifestyle. Yeah, it's just unbelievable to watch. So I really encourage people to look with a critical eye and also think like the opportunity cost too. If you're spending your formative years in your early 20s, if you're spending all that time 20s and you're just using people, you have to think about the fact that you might miss out on meeting someone who would actually be a really good partner for you. On top of the fact that like this is who you're turning into. This is going to be your character, and your looks, well, women I don't believe have an expiration date if we take care of ourselves. It won't be tolerated in the same way. There will always be someone younger who is the next thing that the person who originally went for you will set their eyes on, and they'll discard you, and then you'll kind of be stuck. You know, Ziva is a channel who I love. I've talked about her before, and she sort of talked about how sugaring was an era for her, and she recognized that it was not going in a good direction on her channel, and I would assume also maybe not the life she really wanted to live long term.
I mentioned this before that like in a previous video, that at one point I just felt like my channel was just going in a different trajectory, like a negative one, and I felt like I was putting out a message that was not it's okay for the time being, but it's not something that you want to live in.
I don't think that happens most of the time. And then you end up with women who are older and they will say they're victims because falling on hard times. I'm not going to discredit that. And I'm not saying everyone who is in this situation where their significant other ends up treating them differently is at fault, because I know people can change up. I know people can put on good acts. Like there's so many factors. And I'm also not speaking about people who maybe they didn't grow up with the best role models for relationships or any role models, and maybe they're naive, or maybe they were genuinely manipulated. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people women who think they're smart enough to outsmart a person who knows they're being used. It's 9 times out of 10, it's going to backfire. Maybe not in the immediate term, but in the long term. You're probably not Shira 7. You're probably not. You're probably not Shira 7. You're probably not Meghan Markle. You're probably not Anna Nicole Smith. Like you are probably not at that level. You're probably average, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't mean average in the looks department or anything like that. I mean, you're probably not this master manipulator vixen that you think you are, that the internet has tried to tell you are through an algorithm with women like the Wizard Liz or anyone else who they are putting out that image, and they're doing it and they're telling you that so that they can cash in because it's what people want to hear. So please, please, please use some discernment. Really, really think about the life you want. Live your life with some integrity, and just be really wary of women who will profess something like it's amazing to be a sugar baby, or who, you know, they stick their nose up in the air and they think they're so much better than you. They have it made. I have distanced myself from all of these women just because I've seen the game. Like, it's very obvious to me now. It wasn't obvious to me when I was younger and hadn't really interacted with women like this. I hope you can learn from my advice. And if you're someone who is sort of in there, I would hope it's just an era, their sugaring era, you might want to take a long, hard look at yourself and really think about the kind of life you want. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Bye.